Once purchase orders have been created and they've both been received and approved, then there are procedures that are followed with our paperless system called LaserVault. Every invoice that comes into the office is scanned into our paperless system, LaserVault, and they are assigned accordingly. Most, if not all, invoices require a purchase order, and that is the information that drives that invoice to a specific user. If you have invoices at your store locations, please make sure that you forward those to the accounts payable department. You can do that in two ways: either send it via inter-office mail, or you can email it to accountspayable@warrencat.com. We definitely check that inbox daily. Just make sure whenever you are emailing those invoices that they are scanned individually and that they're readable, so that the TEF images and PDFs will come through clearly. So invoices that come into the system, they'll need direction, and we assign those invoices to two different groups. Either a PO requester is indicated, or it's an unknown type. So within LaserVault, every invoice that hits your queue, it creates a listing of those invoices. It assigns a rec ID, which helps us determine what invoices were within the system. It also assigns a task name and lets you know where it is in the process of being entered and paid. So when an invoice is assigned to a PO requester, it's going to come into your inbox of LaserVault. You're going to select that particular invoice, and you're going to have two options. You either select that goods have been received or goods have not been received. Most of our POs, we really don't have any issues with them. Our PO requesters pretty much know whether or not we've received those goods or not. And so you can select whatever option is necessary and hit complete task. Once you tell the system that goods have been received, that invoice will come back to you for coding and approval. When we say coding and approval, once you provide the coding and the amount, that is your approval. If you'll just go ahead and mark that PO is complete for us, that helps for research purposes in the future if we ever need to go back and look up a purchase order. There is a coding string that we use within accounting, and your supervisor is definitely available to help you understand what geocodes go with what stores and cost centers. But that's what we mean by the coding. So your first option is to return it to the AP group with the coding, or you can forward it to someone else. If an invoice does not belong to you and you know who it belongs to, you can certainly search them on the drop down of this option to forward it to them. Or if you know the first two initials of their first name and their last name, you can type that in there as well, and it will forward it to that individual. The third option is to return to AP. If there is something wrong with the invoice, or if you've spoken with the vendor and have not agreed to pay that invoice, you can hit the return to AT bubble and just put us a note in there why you're sending it back to us. You can say that it's a duplicate invoice. You can say that the vendor is going to submit another invoice because there is not a purchase order on the face of it, or whatever your conversation has been with the vendor. That kind of lets us know what we need to do with that image from that point on. So once again, back to what your flow would look like. An invoice that has not been assigned to the PO grouping, it'll come back as an unknown type. There are two reasons why an invoice will come back as unknown. Either a PO has not been approved or a PO has not been received is when it will come back as an unknown type. So say you get an invoice and it doesn't have a purchase order on the face of the invoice, and you need to create that PO. Then you would create that PO. You would make sure that it has both been received and approved. Then you can come back in here and tell it, I know the type of invoice this is. It's PO. You can then select PO and complete task. We use pre-415 for some invoices that do not require POs. There are very few that do not require a PO, but if you need to just provide a straight coding instead of sending it to the PO group, then you would use the pre-415 group. Or you can select unknown type, and if you know who to forward the invoice to, you can do it at that time. So once again, known type PO, there's a drop down. You can actually search for the PO that you just created if it has both been received and approved. Sometimes there's a delay on LaserVault whenever it updates a PO within the system. So there may be a little bit of a lag time, but LaserVault is structured and designed to update 3 to 4 times a day. So you can just leave that in your queue and come back in and try to find that PO. Once you find that purchase order, you can complete task. It'll come back around to you for coding and approval. Pre-415 means that it's a pre-coded invoice. We use this a lot for utilities because a lot of those do not have purchase orders. So there is a list, and there are some invoices that we do not require a purchase order for, but most of them do require that. But if you needed to code an invoice without a purchase order, you would come in here and bubble in known type, select pre-415 from your drop down, and complete task. So your coding box will appear like this. As stated before, there is a specific coding string that we use, so you want to make sure that that coding string is specific and accurate. And then once you provide the coding, you select return to AP for keying and complete task. From there, we'll enter the invoice, and then it will be in line for payment whenever it's due. There is an invoice that comes out weekly on Tuesdays for all Laser Vault users. It will show you what's in your workflow, how many days it's been in your workflow, and what the current task name is. We ask that you please do not ignore this email. It is served as a reminder to go in there and work workflow. I also have established a process where I send out emails for invoices that are 20 days or older. We want to make sure that we keep all of our payables accurate and that we are paying our vendors in a timely fashion. I am May Nelson. I'm the Accounts Payable Supervisor, and I'm going to be your contact for Laser Vault. So any issues that you have, if you have an invoice that needs to be deleted out of the system, or you just have questions on navigation through Laser Vault, then I will definitely be your contact. You can reach me at my direct line at 432-571-4348, or you can look me up in the org chart. My email address is mae.nelson, NELSON, @warrencat.com. Thank you so much for your time.